Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7th Speech Showcase sponsored by the Department of Communication, Weber State University. Tonight, we have the pleasure of hearing the 5 finalists who have been selected to speak this evening. We will be hearing them later on in the program, but first I would like to welcome each and every one of you, the classmates, the friends, the family members, the significant others, the faculty members, and anyone else who is here tonight in support of our speakers. We thank you for taking the time out of what we know is a busy schedule to be here with us and to help celebrate these outstanding rhetoricians this evening. As we begin tonight, I'd like to recognize some individuals without whose sponsorship and help tonight could not be the successful event that it has been for the last 7 semesters. I'd like to start by thanking the VIPs and the judges who have given tirelessly of their time to make the Speech Showcase a successful event. I'd like to start by thanking President Charles A. White, Dr. Brad Mortensen, our VP, Dr. Norm Tarbox, our incoming interim president. I'd like to thank Provost Madon Miner, Dean Scott Sprenger, Dr. Sheree Josephson, Chair of the Department of Communication, and Dr. Catherine Lindquist, who will be our Freedom Through Rhetoric Award recipient this evening. May I have a round of applause for all of these individuals? In addition, tonight could not happen without the help of our administrative assistants, and those would be Sherry and Sari, who are up front. We thank you so much for the time you put into making tonight happen. This evening, our 5 finalists will be speaking, and congratulations not only to the 5, but to all competitors who entered into this rigorous competition. Thank you for giving of your Saturday morning to be here, and thank you for being here tonight as well. I'd like to now recognize the selection committee who last Saturday listened to our 21 speakers present their speeches here in this same room. I'd like to ask that each of them rise, and at the end that we would give all of them a round of applause. If I may ask Dr. Sheree Josephson, Dr. Colleen Packer, Shelley Bellflower, Mr. Ryan Cheek, and Ms. Marin Tarbox. A round of applause for our selection committee. I'd also at this time like to recognize the Communication 1020 instructors whose support and instruction is what leads to these 21 competitors and 5 finalists this evening. I'm going to read off the names of the instructors, and if you are present, if you will please rise when I read your name. At the end, we will give a round of applause for all of our Communication 1020 instructors. David Berg, David Collins, Bruce Franson, Paul Gadd, Dr. Stephanie Gomez, Elizabeth Hatch, Dr. Stephanie Heath, Leslie Howerton, Greg Larson, Mark Merkley, Dr. Frank Richardson, Cami Sabin, Leslie Simpson, Gail Speechley, Benjamin Taylor, Brent Warnock, and Christina Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, if we may applaud for the instructors who have done a great job preparing our students for tonight. This evening, as I mentioned, we're celebrating the 7th Speech Showcase that the Department of Communication has put on for this college. We thank everyone who has dedicated themselves to the success of the showcase before tonight. I'd like to give everyone a brief overview of how our selection event and our speech showcase work. From all sections of Communication 1020, which is a general education course, public speaking, principles of public speaking as an introductory course, students from across the university with a diverse range of majors and individual backgrounds enter into this course, and over a semester, they give a series of 5 speeches. Guided by their instructors, this final speech that they give, which is termed the personal relevance speech, is generally the speech that is entered into this competition. Our speakers perform this speech on a Saturday morning. This past Saturday was Selection Saturday for this event. During Selection Saturday, our panel of judges listens to anywhere from 7 up to 9 speeches per hour for a 3-hour block of time. After deliberations and scoring of rubrics, the 5 finalists are chosen by the judging panel, and they are informed of their status on that following Monday. By Thursday night, which is tonight, we have set up the event, and all speakers, judges, and instructors, as well as their classmates, family, friends, and other loved ones, are welcome to come and to watch the 5 finalists speak. Again, no matter whether you are one of the 5 finalists this evening or one of the competitors who came and gave of your time on a Saturday, we thank you for being champions of rhetoric and being representatives of the best that Communication 1020 has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for the speech showcase. And speaking of competitors, at this time, I would like to recognize our speech showcase competitors. If I may ask for Dr. Sheree Josephson to come up to the front. And yes, please. And Sherry. When I call your name, if you will kindly come forward, and what we'll ask you to do is to walk down, receive your award, and then loop back around so that we can keep you in the same order. Tonight, we recognize as competitors from the classes, Mackenzie Burrows, Ian Duncan, David Ellis, Riley Frederick, Nicole Jensen, Zachary Jensen, Sharday Jones, John Keifer, Liberty Lockett, Spencer Lunt, Christian McConey, McKenna Nettle, Riley Palmer, Arianna Pressure, Catherine Red, Ellie Robison, Jana Skadden, Stephanie Skelton, and Dalet Yelemesov. Congratulations again to all of the competitors. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we will hear from our 5 finalists. They will be speaking one at a time, presenting in the order that they are listed in the program. Before the speaker comes up, I would like to read a brief biography for each one individually. Our first speaker this evening is John Keifer. John Keifer comes to us from Martinsburg, West Virginia. He calls Ogden home, and he is a communication major in the multimedia journalism track. He is currently a senior here and attended Weber High before coming to Weber State University. He hopes in the future to be a sports journalist and to write for a sports column. John Keifer will be presenting tonight his speech, which is titled, "The Importance of Progression." And I'm very happy to note that I was this instructor for Com 1020.
Everybody hear me? Cool. There are a lot of you here. I'm aware, I don't know if you are. You hear that? Yeah. Dick Fosbury was an American high jumper who revolutionized the sport. In the early 1960s, the primary technique of high jump was known as the Western roll. Dick Fosbury struggled with this technique, however, because of the coordination required. As a sophomore in high school, he would fail to even clear 5 feet. Instead of quitting the sport and moving on, he looked for opportunities to change and to become better. Ultimately, he would invent a new technique of high jump that today is known as the Fosbury flop. Early on, he still felt opposition to this. His coaches felt like he should stick with the Western roll. But he continued to work, and he got better, and they could not argue with the results. He would set his high school record, his college record, and in 1968, he would participate in the Olympic Games, and he would set a world record of 7 feet 4 1/4 inches on his way to an Olympic gold medal. Today, I would like to talk to each of you about the importance of progression. I firmly believe that one of the purposes of this life is to actively look for ways to improve oneself. I will talk about 3 things. The problem that we face in today's society, that people are not looking to change. The reason for that, and we'll talk about a solution to overcome this. So the problem. Well, that's the Fosbury flop, by the way. The problem is people are not actively looking to change, and they're not setting goals. According to Statistic Brain in 2017, only 41% of Americans would set a New Year's resolution. Of those 41% who set New Year's resolutions, only 9% followed through and met their goal. The more staggering number to me is the 59%, or 192 million Americans, who did not set a resolution. We learned 2 things from this. The first, even those who are setting goals are often failing. The second is most people are simply choosing not to set goals. I believe that every day of our lives, we should look for opportunities to become better. But New Year's is a built-in opportunity to set goals and to look to improve oneself. But we're still not doing that. So why are we not? I would say there are 2 main reasons. The first is a fear of failure. The second is complacency. Too many people are comfortable with where they are in their lives, and they don't feel like they need to change. When I was in high school, I also participated in high jump. I know I don't look it, but I was pretty good. As a junior, I would jump 6 feet 2 inches, and I qualified for state. Going into my senior year, I fully expected to do better and to become one of the top high jumpers in the state. Over the first few meets, that was not the case, though. I would fail to clear what I'd even done the year before. I was not getting better. I didn't understand why, and I was frustrated by this. Luckily, I had good teachers, and one of them shared this quote with me. "Good, better, best, never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best." This quote changed my life. It taught me about the importance of progression and never resting until your good is better and your better is best. It taught me the value of hard work. Going forward, I would work harder than I ever had before. Prior to this, I was simply relying on my own natural talent. I was being complacent. By the end of the year, I would clear 6 feet 6 inches, and I took 4th in state. So how do we overcome complacency? First, we need to open ourselves up to change. We need to look within and find opportunities to become better, to improve ourselves. And when we find those opportunities, we need to set SMART goals to help us along the way. SMART is an acronym and an effective way to set goals. S is for specific, and for this, we'll use the example of someone who's trying to lose weight. a very common goal that people have. But if you set the goal that I'm going to lose weight, that if you lose 1 pound, you've achieved your goal. So good job, hats off to you. However, it's not specific. We should say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I just say specific goal. The next is measurable. Goals with a number attached will find much more success because we can track our progress and it will motivate us as we go. The third is we should have attainable goals. The most common reason people fail to meet their goals is because they're set too high, they become discouraged, and they fail. They ultimately quit. They need to be relevant to us. I've never smoked a day in my life. If I set a goal today that I was not going to smoke for the rest of the year, that would not really be relevant to me. But maybe it is too. The last is they need to be timely. This is where a lot of people fail with their goals. They fail to set an end date. I'll use an example of someone running a race. If you were running a race and there was no finish line, you would run in circles over and over again until eventually you wore yourself out and you quit. I promise you that if you set smart goals, you will find a greater amount of success when you look to improve yourself. So we have talked today about the problem we face in society, that people are not setting goals and they're not looking for opportunities to change. The reason is likely a fear of failure and complacency, but we can overcome this by looking within, opening ourselves up to change, and then setting smart goals that will help us get there. I would challenge each of you to set goals and to write them down. Look for those opportunities to change. We all hope for the world to be a better place. By self-improvement and looking for ways to better yourself, you can do your part to make this world a better place. I hope that we can be like Dick Fosbury, that we can find these opportunities to change and to become better. That will allow us to raise the bar, and ultimately, we will reach heights that we never before thought possible. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Our next speaker this evening is Arianna Pressure. Arianna comes to us from Layton, Utah, and she calls Ogden her current home. She is an education major and a freshman here at Weber State University. She attended Bonneville High School and hopes one day to be a music teacher, hopefully an orchestra high school director. She will be speaking tonight on When Words Fail, the Arts Speak. Her instructor, Gail Speechley.
What if I told you that this instrument has the potential to completely change a person's life for the better? The astounding truth is that it can do just that. All students, whether it be a young child or an experienced college senior, will achieve the highest potential in their education when they have the opportunity to study the arts. The arts are defined as the expression of human creativity and imagination when conveying beauty. Today I'd like to talk with you about the arts and how beneficial they've been proven to be for our students, and I'll also discuss some ways how we can continue to keep the arts as a crucial piece in our standard educational curriculum. We need the arts in our schools desperately. Many academic and peer-reviewed journals have relayed the following. Students involved in 3 years of fine arts instruction performed much higher on tests involving verbal, quantitative, and spatial aspects, as this graph shows. Students involved in arts education performed better on 6 different categories of literacy than those who did not. And that's according to a pilot program sponsored by the Guggenheim Museum. Students involved in art courses are shown to have a higher graduation rate than those who do not. Students involved in art courses are shown to be less likely to abuse drugs and other harmful substances, and that's according to the Texan Commission on Drug and Alcohol Abuse. We need the arts in our schools. So, how can we go about achieving that? I could go on and on providing evidence upon evidence of how beneficial the arts in our schools, but unfortunately, high schools and other junior highs do not find the arts to be as important as they really are. Many of you are already aware of the many benefits of the arts, and many of you already agree with me because this research has been out for quite a while now. So again, what can we do to include the arts? Well, funding can be the answer. Unfortunately, many educational institutions are putting the arts on the back burner, and in some cases, cutting them altogether. This graph indicates the dramatic decline of art in the form of drama courses offered from 1999 to 2009. I myself experienced these budget cuts, unfortunately, my 8th grade year at South Ogden Junior High. When I was in 8th grade, South Ogden Junior High moved to a brand new building in which administration apparently did not find it important enough to include an orchestra room. You can imagine my extreme devastation when on the first day of school I discovered that rather than being instructed in an actual classroom, we were to meet in a storage room. I wish I was kidding, but believe it or not, this is a true story. It is shameful to me as a student to see the school manifest its disregard for the arts in this way. We need to provide schools with the funding necessary so they can incorporate the arts into their standard educational curriculum. I'd like to suggest 3 ways in which we can do just that. First, it starts with all of you as community members. If you attend the art shows or band concerts or other events put on by the arts department, then that will show administration that the arts are indeed of worth to our community. Second, fundraising is another great way to increase school funds. The important thing is, though, that the acquired funds must then be distributed evenly across departments. Typically, a sports department receives the majority of a school's funds, even though the National Association of Music Merchants has shown that a high school football player costs the school about 4 to 5 times as much as a music student. Third, we need to build a stronger, more conspicuous connection between professional art venues and arts departments within junior high and high schools, which is where many of these professionals got their start in the first place. If we will ensure that even but a small portion of ticket sales go back into the school system, that will greatly benefit our students. Clearly, we can see that funding the arts is not only necessary, but indeed doable. We can expect that if we follow the solution I've proposed, increase funding for the arts, and make the arts programs a higher priority in our schools, students will achieve their highest success possible. And this is in addition to all the academic benefits I've already mentioned. They will also increase important life skills, such as they will have higher self-confidence and higher self-determination, which help to combat important issues such as anxiety and depression, while making that student have a feeling of belonging in that school. I know I always felt excited to go to orchestra class because I knew that it was somewhere that I belonged. I could connect with other classmates in there with me, and we could get lost in the music together. Feeling of belonging, by the way, also increases school attendance rates. Conversely, we can expect that if we continue to put the arts on the back burner, student success will actually decrease, and they will also experience a decrease in other life factors, such as they will have a decrease in self-determination. We need the arts in our schools. I would need much longer than a 6-minute speech in order to be able to explain to all of you the many, many benefits I've seen within my own life from having had the opportunity to study the arts. We cannot afford to let students' education suffer because they didn't receive the same opportunity. I call upon all of you to do what you can to support the arts and help our future generations of students flourish with success. Thank you.
Thank you, Arianna. Our next speaker this evening is Jana Skadden. Jana was born in Farmington, Utah, and still calls Farmington home. She is a health sciences emphasis in nursing major, and she is a freshman here at Weber State University. Jana attended Viewmont High School, graduating in 2013, and in the future, she hopes to be part of Miss Rodeo Utah, earn a nursing degree, become an ER nurse, and also work as a competitive cowgirl. Jana this evening is going to be delivering the speech, Changing the World Through Kindness. Her instructor, Miss Leslie Howerton.
Kyle didn't know what hit him as he was suddenly shoved to the floor. His assailant laughed as he walked away, leaving Kyle in a mess of scattered school books. Marcus, a fellow student, eagerly ran to help the smaller boy to his feet. As Marcus began to help Kyle pick up all of his books, the two boys made conversation. By the end of their conversation, Marcus had invited Kyle to join him and a group of friends playing football the next day. This was the beginning of a beautiful friendship that continued to flourish the rest of their high school years. Kyle rose to the top of his class and as valedictorian gave a beautiful speech at graduation. There he spoke about the importance of friendship and kindness. He told of a time his freshman year when he struggled to fit in. Being bullied at school and having poor grades made him feel like his life was no longer worth living. Planning to commit suicide one day, Kyle cleared out all of his books from his locker so his mother wouldn't have to after she found his body. As Kyle began to walk down the halls of his high school for what he thought would be his last time, a bully suddenly shoved him to the ground. Moments later, a kind stranger lifted him to his feet. That simple act of kindness and outreach of friendship ultimately saved Kyle's life. Like Kyle's best friend, we will never know the full impact we have on those around us. Today, I would like to share some facts about bullying, my personal experience being bullied in high school, and encourage each of us to actively change the world through simply being kind. Bullying is defined as any unwanted aggressive behavior. There are many forms of bullying, from verbal, physical, and cyberbullying, to damaging somebody's personal property or reputation. According to study.com, 3.2 million students reported being bullied last year, and approximately 160,000 students miss school every day because of bullies. Those who experience bullying have increased risks of developing depression and anxiety disorders, have lower test scores, GPAs, and school attendance, and increased feelings of sadness and loneliness. I experienced those feelings my sophomore year of high school when 4 boys in my biology class decided to paint a target on my back. These boys began calling me names that were vulgar, humiliating, and often attacked my body image, calling me fat and ugly. To make matters worse, my teacher thought it was funny. Studies show that 1 out of every 4 teachers do not find bullying as a problem. Clearly that was the case in my class. I continued to be bullied the rest of my sophomore and into my junior year of high school. Halfway through my junior year, I fell off a horse and broke my leg. In that moment, my life seemed to shatter along with the bones, as my doctor told me I would have to have multiple surgeries and would not be able to walk for at least 6 months. I realized then how precious and how short life is. And I decided I was no longer going to be a creature of my circumstances, but rather a creator of good. So I came up with a plan. For the rest of my junior year and into my senior year of high school, I wrote every single graduating student an anonymous, kind note. Each of these notes was handwritten and personalized, but they all had one thing in common. Each note was signed, "Thanks for being a bright star. Keep shining, Starry." By the time I graduated high school, I had written nearly 1,000 anonymous notes. 4 of those notes went to the very boys who made my life so miserable. I learned through this process that if we try hard enough, we can find good in anyone around us. I believe that each of us has a desire to change the world. It's such a daunting task that sometimes we just don't know where to start. How do we change the world? One simple act of kindness at a time. Martin Luther King Jr. stated, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Studies show that when a peer intervenes in a bullying situation, the bullying stops within 10 seconds, 57% of the time. So let us stand up for those around us, walk up and introduce ourselves to somebody new, and reach out in love and kindness to all those around us. Bullying affects millions of people each and every year. It has affected me personally, and I would dare say it has affected each and every one of you in some way or another. So let us carry a torch and bring light into the darkness of the world of bullying. I'd like to challenge each of you that today, before you leave this auditorium, introduce yourself to somebody new. And then every day this coming week, do something kind for somebody else. It can be as simple as opening a door, calling an old friend, or my personal favorite, writing a kind note. Together, we can actively change the world through simply being kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. Our next speaker is Riley Frederick. Riley was born in Orem, Utah, and she now calls Kaysville her home. Riley is majoring in deaf education and is currently a junior here at Weber State University. Before attending Weber State, Riley attended Davis High School. Riley hopes one day to teach secondary education to deaf students here in Utah. This evening, Riley is presenting the speech, Cake. Her instructor is Mr. Mark Merkley.
I stand in firm affirmation of the resolution stated, I cannot have my cake and eat it too. Contention 1. Invisible among the turmoil and invisibility which one can only reasonably associate with high school, I began shy, lost, and without a voice. Embarrassment to the name of gender equity pounded at my door every second of every day to the point of utter pulverization. As if my small stature unknowingly screeched out to masculine demonstrators asking for it. Now, just like any competitive-natured extracurricular overwhelmed by male suitors, debate was the perfect opportunity to validate persuasion and authority for those who were assigned that role at birth. Unfortunately for me, my roles and my interests did not align. Now, when I say asking for it, I mean that I'm supposedly asking to be humiliated and doubted constantly, because if not interrupted every 2 seconds, how could you possibly know that I know what I'm debating about? These are topics that are deliberated in depth, after all. According to Griffin and Rater 89, girl debaters are less likely to be voted for. One of the judges that they interviewed said, and I quote, "I don't usually vote for girl debaters because debate is really a boys' activity. I'm surprised by your ability to handle these issues." Women are told time and time again in debate that our voices are too high or that our dress was too bright so we didn't get the win. Once at the bottom of my ballot it read, "Aleph was a great speaker. The female was aggressive." There's a reason why women are also receiving lower speaker points in debate, and it isn't because we aren't persuasive or credible, but because when we walk into a room, we aren't allowed the privilege of being assumed to be, and we have to earn that every round. There's also a significant lack of female role models in debate, especially policy debate, which is based on high theory and very complicated arguments. Because of this, there are 4 times more boys participating in the activity. This isn't merely problematic because of the lack of female representation, but because of the negative messages that this sends to girls about their abilities. Contention 2. Invisible among the mass of anti-feminine rhetoric, I begin to yell more. I intentionally deepen my voice so that to better match male debaters. my speaker points go up. However, my real voice threatens to rupture the norm at every snicker, insult, and interruption I receive. A voice resilient but not persuasive enough to convince the stigmas attached to my body to step aside at that time. That cookie-cutter belief that surrounds me more like a tombstone. Here lies impotence. I hear time and time again how lucky I am to have my partner, that he is the reason for my success. I guess I just don't realize how my success was always attributed to him when I was the one who wrote all of our cases. For 2 years, I allowed myself to be overshadowed. You can have your cake and eat it too, he would say. Well, we all know that this is your cake that you get to eat, but I will always be stuck making it for you because the problem of women's voices, opinions, and successes being overshadowed by others is not only a problem seen throughout history, but a problem seen throughout classrooms across the United States in the status quo. Girls are less likely to be called on in class. This sends 2 messages. First, that boys have something better to say or that they can articulate their thoughts better than girls can. And second, that girls just simply don't have something to say that is worth calling on. Women, we are constantly assumed to be ignorant simply because of the way that we dress or because our voice is too high. Think of the last time you went to get your car checked, or the last time that a male authority figure either disregarded or minimized your articulations. These are subtle yet impactful aggressions. Isn't it silly that I have to watch what I wear when I go in to get my car fixed simply so I'll be taken somewhat seriously? Isn't it silly that somehow getting catcalled is validation of your value rather than someone finally recognizing your intelligence and communicative skills? Contention 3, invisible, is an old word. I don't understand the meaning because I refuse to be it. I now associate my voice with femininity, yelling deeply with femininity. I used to be a girl trying to sound like a man, but now I'm a girl who speaks like a woman. Because men are not aggressive, persuasive, and influential, people are aggressive, persuasive, and influential. So because of that, I refuse to embrace that good girl disposition that must be assumed because of the nature of my womanhood, that I must get over it or be strong, as if my advocation is not strong enough, but merely my hysteria, sucking the small amount of rationale allowed to my feminine body out of me. As if my advocation, my refusal to allow rhetoric and deliberation to be dominated by masculinity does not emanate courage. People question why there aren't more women politicians, CEOs. Maybe it's because we are raised our entire lives being minimized, interrupted, and called bitches when we speak up or speak out. It is time to object to those who objectify us. I realize that it is my obligation to turn the tables on oppressive influence, but it is yours as well. Women, speak up, because your silence does nothing for your voice. Men, listen, because sometimes women have something to say that is worth listening to. But I also realize that our attempt to create change has been morphed into a story about a stereotypically weak woman who cries when boys are mean. Which is why, in conclusion, I cannot have my cake and eat it too, yet.
Thank you, Riley. Our final speaker this evening is Liberty Lockett. Liberty was born in Sacramento, California, and currently calls Las Vegas, Nevada, home. Liberty is a theater education major and a sophomore here at Weber State University. Before coming to Weber State, she attended Las Vegas High, and in the future she hopes to be teaching theater in high school. This evening, Liberty is presenting the speech, 98 Seconds to Believe. Her instructor, Mr. Mark Merkley.
By a show of hands, how many of you know at least 6 women? Now, By a show of hands, how many of you know which one out of those 6 women is or will be a victim of sexual assault? 1 in 6 women will be a victim of sexual assault, attempted or completed, and 1 in 33 men will be a victim of sexual assault in his lifetime. And if these are our odds, then they are too high. According to RAINN.org, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, there's a new victim of sexual assault every 98 seconds. In 98 seconds, you can decide if you're going to go to class or not. In 98 seconds, you can decide what you're going to wear for the day. In 98 seconds, a person's life can be turned upside down based on another person's actions. These are 6 women, including myself, who are all very important to me. And because of these statistics, I can't help but to think which one it is or which one it might be. Maybe it's my cousin, who's only 20 but plans on joining the Navy. Or my fiery, red-headed aunt, who decided to retire before the age of 50 so that she could travel. Or my other aunt, who just recently decided to go back to school and get her master's. Or my sister-in-law, who has an unidentifiable illness but still managed to become an RN before the age of 23. Or maybe my mother, the strongest woman I know and the woman that raised me to believe everything that I believe today while still managing to let me be myself. Or maybe it will be myself, a young woman who's decided to advocate for all of the people who have had their voices stripped away because of sexual assault. Sexual assault is the act of any sexual activity that you do not consent to. This can be rape, unwanted touching, unwanted sexting, and even peeping without consent. Force is also a form of assault, pressuring and manipulating someone into doing a sexual act that you want to do that they do not want to do. There are also different types of rape. Stranger/blitz rape is when you do not know the person. Normally it happens at nighttime, but it is still in a public place. It is quick and it is brutal. Contact rape. You do know the person. They flirt with you, they tell you to come over, and they create this perfect situation, and they shatter that by assaulting you. And home invasion rape. That is when someone proceeds to break into your home and assault you. Brock Turner, the Stanford University swimmer who raped Emily Doe behind a dumpster, only to be given 6 months of jail time because a longer sentence would have a negative effect on him, is the prime example of stranger/blitz rape. He did not know Emily, they both were at the same party, they both were intoxicated, and yet he thought that he had consent because she happened to touch his back while he was assaulting her. Rape victims also fall into the more negative consequences after their assault happens. Depression, PTSD, and flashbacks can all occur months after the assault happens, while sleep deprivation, STIs, and even pregnancy can happen while they are trying to cope with their assault. Many victims decide to cope with their assault by going to group therapy, where they can talk to other people about what they experienced and new coping methods. Journaling, writing about how they're doing that day, how it was, what they're doing. And one-on-one therapy, where they can talk about what they've experienced and what they're going through. Emily Doe said while confronting Brock Turner in court, "You do not know me, but you've been inside of me, and that's why we're here today. You took away my worth, my energy, my privacy, my time, my intimacy, my confidence, my own voice, until today." Doe said that she was not able to talk about her assault until 8 months after it had happened. Her family and friends would ask her questions and she would just shut down. She said that she was on a planet, population, her. Just recently, I was given the opportunity to be cast in a show here at Weber State called Class of '94. It is about a young woman named Fabiana who gets raped by a young man, Matt Mitchell, who goes down to a school down the street. And people in our cast were victims of sexual assault. And to do a play that involves sexual assault and be a sexual assault survivor gives an entirely new meaning to the term method acting. And these are some of the most powerful, strongest, and confident people that I've ever gotten the chance to work with. Why does bad stuff happen to good people? What can we do to stop it? Start by believing. Many assault survivors do not come forward with their assault because they are afraid that nobody will believe them. They are afraid that their story will be pushed aside as so many other victim stories do. Start donating to your local crisis centers. The YCC on 25th Street not only takes money donations, but they also take clothing and journals for survivors too. And because sometimes these survivors are victims of domestic abuse who have children, they take cribs and baby formula and baby clothing as well. Sexual assault is a problem that will not go away until we all start asking for change, until our own president and celebrities start understanding what consent means. In 98 seconds, a person can get raped, abused, taken advantage of, and even left behind a dumpster. In 98 seconds, you can choose to not rape, to stop rape, to donate, but most importantly, believe. Don't let your wives, children, sisters, and friends be the next 1 out of 6.
Thank you, Liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, may I call for one more round of applause for our 5 finalists. This evening, as we prepare to award our 5 finalists with their honorarium, I would like to invite Vice President Brad Mortensen to the podium to share a few words on his behalf and behalf of President White this evening.
Thank you very much. Wow, great job to all 5 of our finalists. That was amazing. Thank you very much for sharing your talent, sharing your craft, and caring so much about the messages that you shared with us. President White sends his regrets. He's unable to be here this evening. He loves this event every year, and I can see why. It's a great demonstration of all the great things that are happening at Weber State. Thanks to all of you students who are participating, who are honing your skills as communicators. Thanks to our faculty for the great work that you do with our students and helping them be able to deliver these powerful messages. So thank you very much, and let's get on with the program.
At this time, if I may please have Dr. Cherie Josephson and Dr. Catherine Lindquist come up to the stage.
Yeah.
To our 5 finalists, when I call your name, if you will please come forward to receive your certificate and recognition from Dr. Josephson and from Dr. Lindquist. Thank you very much. John Keifer. Arianna Pressure. Jana Skadden. Riley Frederick. And Liberty Lockett. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we have come to the presentation of the Freedom Through Rhetoric Award. This evening, we are honored to have in our presence Dr. Catherine Lindquist. Dr. Lindquist earned a PhD in American Studies from the University of Utah, where she taught humanities courses that focused on minority populations and also directed its Bachelor of University Studies program for several years. Here at Weber State University, she served on the Board of Trustees for 8 years, where she chaired the Personnel and Academic Policy Committee. She currently serves on the advisory board to the College of Arts and Humanities, the Faculty Environmental Issues Committee, and the editorial board for the publication Weber, the Contemporary West. At the University of Utah, she enjoys membership on advisory boards for the College of Humanities and the Board of Undergraduate Advisors. She is also a trustee for the Nature Conservancy's Utah chapter and the ACLU's Utah chapter. She and her husband, James R. Moore, a retired environmental attorney, enjoy a blended family of 8 children and 13 grandchildren. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, for her tireless efforts in the support and the promotion of rhetoric and freedom, we are honored to present Dr. Catherine Lindquist with the Freedom Through Rhetoric Award.
This to you. Thank you. Thank you for this quite unexpected honor. It has compelled me to truly reflect on how my work does pertain to free speech, which is something I had honestly never considered. You people here, students and professors of communication who study the discipline, know better than anyone what it means to have free speech and why we must promote and protect it in any culture, but particularly in American society at this time. We know that language is what we use to know who we are and who we might be at the core of our being. It is our tool for defining the values we treasure and the actions we must take to represent and protect those values. Speech is how we convert language, whether in the form of music, visual art, bodily gestures, or the written and spoken word, to articulate our ideas, to exchange them with other people, and to sort out what it means to be human in general, and this particular self at this particular time and place with other selves, determined to express perhaps a different set of values. Lacking freedom to speak and express a self, we are chattel. We are Frederick Douglass or Harriet Jacobs, U.S. slaves forbidden to know about the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution and to learn how to read and write, beaten for uttering what the master does not want to hear. Of course, we know that Harriet Jacobs and Frederick Douglass had inner identities that would not be silenced. And so they broke their bonds in an ultimate expression of self-determination. And they learned the laws, and they told their stories. Now, over a century since their deaths, we are still outraged for their bondage. We weep for their suffering, and we rejoice in their hard-earned freedoms. Over these last decades since the emancipation of slaves, some of us in the United States have had the audacity to think our nation was rising above the brutal act of denying people the right to knowledge and free expression and other liberties supposedly guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. We believed that by exposing injustice in banking and loan systems, in housing regulations, in educational systems, In law enforcement and court systems and penal codes, we could create a more just and equitable society. We vainly believed that by employing the most reliable scientific information and increasingly finer technology, we could educate the world in the best and most ethical practices and thus create healthier and safer environments for our children. We complimented ourselves for having a free press that mostly gets the facts right. And we believed that if a news source stretched too far into improbability, and if we probed deeper into an issue, we might get at least a closer truth. How foolish we were. Now we have elected a president who claims to know what is best for us without bothering about science or facts or ethics or compassion, or often even educated opinions, and who has been proven to lie on public issues much of the time. He would do away with the news outlets unfavorable to him. He forced non-disclosure agreements from White House employees to bar them from speaking about him, conveniently forgetting or totally ignorant that they work for the federal government and are protected by the First Amendment. Now we must work harder to protect the truths we believed to be self-evident and the laws that are on the books. We know that denying another person the right to civil, free expression of values and ideas diminishes both sides. Each loses the opportunity to understand, to empathize, and to gain compassion for the other, leading to a richer inner self. Each misses other, perhaps better informed upon close scrutiny, perspectives on how to solve problems and arrive at better judgments. Each inner self, each soul shrivels a bit, and the world becomes a darker, less decent place. This is why we must protect civil, free speech that does not incite violence. Each must choose her or his own means to preserve values sacred to the self. I chose a profession of teaching and also volunteer to support people who desire an honest and ethical education, and the teachers who dedicate themselves to providing it, so that we all become more adept at self-reflection and self-expression. I am proud to work in the Nature Conservancy because we people must speak for the land, water, air, and creatures upon which we depend for the continuation of healthy ecosystems and a healthy planet. I am honored to help KUER expand its investigative journalism program and broadcasts of National Public Radio News, among the most accurate and in-depth in the country. I am proud to support the ACLU because its primary client is the Bill of Rights, which cannot protect itself from autocratic leaders. After hearing the talks given today, I have no doubt you will all defend this most sacred of rights for the self and society with the most powerful means you have, your voice. Thank you. And I
I'll go ahead and just store those right here for you. One moment. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for making the effort to be here tonight to celebrate our speech showcase. As we begin the conclusion of this event, I want to very quickly again thank all who are here in attendance, especially our 5 finalists and all competitors who represented their sections of COM 1020 so well. Tonight, I also want to extend a very special word of thanks to 2 individuals who have made the speech showcase a success from the very beginning. And I did not speak about them earlier in the program because I wanted to make sure that they received a very heartfelt and special thanks and all of our gratitude. These two individuals have worked behind the scenes to ensure that the Speech Showcase has been the great success that it has been. And without these two individuals, we would not have the event that we are enjoying this evening. So if I may ask the following two to rise and for us to please acknowledge them with a round of applause. I'd like to start with Mr. Brent Warnock. And I'd also like to acknowledge the first director of the Speech Showcase, Mr. Mark Merkley. As has been the tradition since the inception of the Speech Showcase, we would like to welcome once again Dr. Catherine Lindquist to lead us in the Weaver Speaks anthem. For all those in the audience, now's the time for the callback. If you'll turn your programs to the back cover, you will notice that there are the words Weaver Speaks 3 times in purple. When Dr. Lindquist gives you the call out, for example, she will say, when an answer to a problem is needed, then you will shout, Weaver Speaks. Much louder. Weaver Speaks. And one more level up. Weaver Speaks. That's perfect. Please do that the 3 times that Dr. Lindquist begins the call out.
You've already started.
It's just a practice round.
When an answer to a problem is needed.
Weaver Speaks.
Very good. Whenever conflict or justice demand resolution.
Weaver Speaks.
Should fear threaten to silence the voice of freedom.
Weaver Speaks.
Hallelujah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lindquist.